please listen to Kevin Harlan on the call here, because you should always listen to Kevin Harlan.
For under 19% shooting, and there's a throwaway. Morris into the crowd, spilled the beer. And will they cross the line? They do. Morris is dripping with beer. Pabst Gold style or some Schlitz maybe, who knows? He's just soaked in beer, and it's in the guy's hair.
Up in Oakland, we had the Kings getting feisty with the Warriors, and Kevin Durant was clearly in no mood. He was credited with 5 blocks on Marvin Bagley in the first half alone. Now, some of these look more like steals, but still defense. Bagley still had a nice night, though, and later even got KD with this little, rip move to draw the foul. Durant was asked about it after the game.
I was going to kind of go to that. I think you blocked him or stole from him 5 times in the first half, but he got you with the rip-through move. What do you like about that kind of back and forth with him?
That wasn't a back and forth. 5 blocks to 1 rip move.
Def Pen's Chris Montano tweeting, quote, Kevin Durant letting everyone know the matchup between him and Marvin Bagley wasn't close, which led Bagley to jump in saying, I like that, bro, KD, you know I'm coming. And then, a little angry face emoji, right? Oh, and in that game, we also had Buddy Hield making a big 3 down the stretch, which you would think would make Coach Dave Yeager happy, but it clearly did not. The two had words, then Hield hits another 3, then again gets into it with Yeager. It looks like he's mouthing, don't doubt me. Finally, in the game's closing seconds, Hield has a chance at the deep game winner, but he passes it up, which led the Athletic's Marcus Thompson to tweet interesting choice, which led Damian Lillard, who was all the way across the country after a game in Brooklyn, to tweet, maybe if his coach didn't yell at him for making the same shot, he would have shot the MF. Again, guys, you were all just on vacation. Palm trees, white sand, anyone? How about in Los Angeles? I mean, it's LA. Everyone should at least be chill here. Except Lakers-Rockets has not been a chill matchup lately, and last night things got interesting after Houston began coughing up a 19-point lead. There was this Statue of Liberty dunk from LeBron to bring the Lakers to within 3 with about 5 minutes to play. Mercy. With about, a minute 24 left, James Harden fouled out of the game. And then with 33 seconds left, Chris Paul and Mike D'Antoni got called for technicals. Eventually, Chris Paul would foul out as well. The Rockets would go on to lose the game, and in the locker room afterward would have plenty to say about the night's lead official, Scott Foster. Here's CP, who has a long and bad history with Foster.
I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? Been met with the league with him before and all this stuff. I don't know what else to do.
You feel like there is a personal?
I just don't know what else to do.
Harden backed Chris up, saying, for sure it's personal, for sure, adding, quote, I don't think Foster should be able to even officiate our games anymore. Oh, and there was more. Take a listen to James.
Scott Foster, man, he's, I never really talk about officiating or anything like that, but just rude and arrogant. You aren't able to talk to him throughout the course of a game, and it's like, how do you build that relationship with officials? It's one of those things where you can't voice your opinion, you can't have a conversation with someone that's officiating the game, and then, you're getting attacked. It's pretty sad.
I was there last night. One Houston official did note to me that in the game's final 20 minutes, the Lakers took 17 free throws, while the Rockets took 0. But in fairness, he also noted the Rockets self-destructed a lot in the second half as well. All told, this did not look like a rested or refreshed team. One night back, and the NBA is already way spicy. Maybe next year, I don't know, the All-Star break needs to be 2 weeks long instead. Scotty, what do you think? You heard all that, right?
I like that.
Do you think the Rockets hurt themselves with their criticism of Scott Foster after last night's game?
Well, I don't think that they help themselves. Anytime you criticize an official, then you're criticizing all of the officials because they all stick together and they bond. And
that's a veteran right there.
That's right.
They work together as a team. So I don't think it helps them, especially for a team that's trying to win a championship. To me, the Houston Rockets are not playing good basketball. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. So it's really in-house. They're finally healthy. They've gotten all their players back. But they have to get their chemistry back. It's not about just bringing their players back and things are going to work. They have to get Capello back into the mix, but also CP3. He has to share some of his load. James Harden's been doing a tremendous job offensively, in carrying them, but that's going to soon come to an end. As we seen last night, the LA Lakers can't block you from the sky. They will block the lane. And LeBron James got those guys to buy in to shutting the lane down last night. And that's what caused problems for Houston.
And James was struggling from three-point range, so they knew he was going to drive. But let's listen for the sympathy in the NBA for the Rockets not getting calls. I don't hear any.
It's weird.
Here's the thing. Regardless of what James said, he's going to get fined for this.
Yes.
Scott Foster is, whether you agree or not, Houston, one of the top 5 ranked officials in the league.
Yes.
He will not only be officiating more Rockets games, he will be officiating games all the way into the finals and maybe even multiple games in the finals. And it's really incumbent on the Rockets not to have a little meltdown every morning when they see the referee assignments and see Scott is there.
Right.
And there were calls that were questionable last night. That replay that we just showed where Kuzma came under Harden, that's a questionable offensive foul. Where Austin Rivers got tackled into the stands at one point, didn't get a call. They should have gotten free throws. They also could not buy a three-pointer. Many, many times Harden went into the lane, executed a pass, and they missed late. They went through a 14-minute period where they scored 11 points. The Lakers, that's a questionable play. But the Lakers did really well on defense, and most of those offensive fouls on Harden were offensive fouls, including the one where he got out of the game. So I understand they're upset with Foster. They may even have points, but they, as Scotty said, they have got to move past it.
Yeah, and look, statistics, you can it depends on where do you start from, that sort of thing. If you look at just last night, in just the last 20 minutes, you heard me say, the Lakers went to the free throw line 17 times, the Rockets 0, right? So that looks, whoa, that's an imbalance. Well, if you make it out toward the whole game, that imbalance is a little bit different. If you bring it out toward the season, I saw someone broadening out to the last 2 seasons. The last 2 seasons that Scott Foster has officiated the Rockets games, the Rockets are 6-6. Their numbers are almost identical on each side of the ledger. So it just sort of depends on how you frame something.
I think he does a good job of refereeing Harden. You know, I've seen Harden take advantage of guys on defense, banging into them. Other officials have given him those calls. And that's a credit to Scott Foster, being a veteran official and knowing how to call the game.
Yeah. We'll say this about Scott. He is a guy who does not care about the fans, does not get intimidated.
Yes.
Actually, historically, visiting teams perform better with Scott. There was once a streak about 3 years ago where I think it was 16 consecutive visiting teams won when he was the official. So in that, the Rockets should have been happy to see him because they were the visiting team last night.
And you're right about it maybe being in their head. I mean, Chris Paul, I think it was last year, had the line saying, oh, Scott Foster, you know, that's the guy the fans pay to see. So there's a lot there going on. And let's not forget, Houston's defense has become more and more of a factor, to the point that Scotty said. There's a lot in their own house that they got to get working on. As for the Lakers side of the equation, they overcame a 19-point deficit. Woo! LeBron has 29 points, 11 rebounds in the win. Here is an updated look at the standings. All right, every time we show this, we're going to show you a little bit of that strength of schedule, too, because it's going to shift, right, as the schedule shifts. But they still have the 4th hardest schedule in the league,
Laker
not just
fans
in that group.
Be looking at 7, not 8. Look at 7.
Right,
That's what
so
you
want 7. You want out of that Golden State zone. They took down a hard, tough team last night, Brian. Are you more confident in their playoff chances after last night's game than you were before tip-off?
If we see the LeBron that we saw in the second half for the next 2 months, I think anything's possible for them. If we see the LeBron we saw in the first half, which looked a lot like the LeBron right before the break, not so sure. At the end of the day, the Lakers, they don't shoot well enough, they don't defend well enough. Doesn't mean they can't have a hot shooting night or they have they have great defense in the fourth quarter last night. But they really, really rely on LeBron to be great. When LeBron is great, and I would be betting on LeBron being great, then anything is possible.
Well, I think LeBron knows that he has to be great the rest of the season. The Lakers are not going to make the playoffs, but it's that time for him. He's never had to push all the way forward, and right now he's having to do that. And, you know, he's got some young, exciting players that he believes that he can win with, and I believe he can win with them. I mean, we've seen LeBron bring up players and bring their confidence up in the playoffs. So I do believe that he will make these players rise to the case, and I don't think he cares who he plays in the playoffs.
Scotty, what's the burden, just sort of the toll it takes on you? We now look at basically he didn't have Kyrie Irving last season, right? This season, he's not playing with another All-Star. When you're the star player, and there's not even, forget another elite player, there's not even another All-Star on your team, and you have to, as Brian says, be great every single night. Now, 2 seasons going. What is that like?
You know what? I can't speak to that because I wasn't in my 16th season having to be the best player on my team.
Right.
And that's the situation that LeBron James is going through. And I don't think any player in the history of the game has had to be the man after 16 seasons in the league. But He's such a superior athlete, incredible shape, still the best player in the game. So I don't really know what it's like, but I know when I was in the prime of my career, around 33, that I thought I was the best that I ever was.
Right.
And that was after I left Chicago, after 2 back surgeries, but I played with a group of guys that were better than me. So I'm not in LeBron's situation, but I think that the challenge is that something he's ready to embrace.
Interesting. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about the Celtics. They felt they were fouled more than once on the final play of their 1-point loss to the Bucks last night. Do they have a point? But first, here's our first distant replay on this date, 1999, Kobe Bryant.
And even if you had to say that, it wouldn't have mattered.
Oh, wow.
And one. Shout out to Elton Campbell walking through the screen.
You know, I would love to see Kobe playing in this era right now.
Kobe said the other day he could still play now.
I believe it.
He said that he thinks he could walk on the court. Now, it's not a surprise.
Oh,
Kobe
look
said
at
that.
Lakers.